Yeah, listen, I don't know if I'm interested in Synthetic Man's perspective on Assassin's Creed Shadows. I mean, what could the controversy possibly be?
How many years have people been asking for an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan? It's got to be at least 10.
Okay.
And so finally, when the franchise is at its weakest, and Ubisoft in general is probably going to go bankrupt in the next 5 years and likely be bought up by Microsoft,
Okay.
they finally pull out their ace in the hole, an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, just like we all wanted. And of course, it stars a black man in feudal Japan.
Wasn't there one of those? Like a black samurai, or I don't think he was quite a black samurai. Yeah, what is this? Do we care that much about this? I mean, we had like Samurai, Afro Samurai was a show. I don't know.
Now, this is where all the people who are trying to change the definition of woke come out and say, Yasuke was a real samurai from feudal Japan, and you're just a racist.
It probably wasn't, but like every single time, every single story that's ever been created has been sensationalized in a way to do for some reason, you know. I'm assuming, like, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, oh, they're going to take, like, a real character from back then, and they're going to flavor up the story for content. Okay. You know? I'm, like, I feel like we're talking about Assassin's Creed, where you have an entire group of people cutting their fingers off, at least in the first game, to put a blade there. I don't know how... Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care that much. They're basing it on a historical character, and okay. Now, if you want to say like, oh well, you know, oh I'm tired of seeing, you know, listen, I understand the woke fatigue of constantly seeing forced inclusion and forced inclusivity, but that doesn't mean that every time there is some kind of inclusivity, it's a problem, right? Like that's where like my thing is I hope the game's good. Yeah.
For not wanting to play as him. Well, first of all, Yasuke wasn't a samurai. He was a servant, effectively a pet of Oda Nobunaga. But whatever, it's not like Assassin's Creed was ever that historically accurate.
Sure.
That's not the point. It was never the point. The point is, it's a game set in Japan. And instead of playing as a Japanese man saving his country from the evil Japanese Templars, but no, we play as the one notable black man from historical Japan. And you know exactly why. Oh, and of course, I can't forget to mention there's also a playable female protagonist who thankfully is
like Letitia or something.
Japanese, but unfortunately has a wide face and a man jaw. Of course, we couldn't have a woman with feminine features because that would be transphobic.
I feel like you would be complaining if it was a woman with feminine features because you'd be like, well, this woman is very feminine. How could she actually fight these fights? Right? So like you would have complained regardless. I feel like because that's the thing. We're hearing it from this guy. If it was like anybody else complaining about it, I'd be like, okay, maybe there's a thing here. I mean, this is the guy that had like brought up marriage statistics when it came to Fallout, the Fallout show, because a black woman happened to be married to a white guy. It's weird. I mean, this guy legitimately, this guy's like a legit fucking weirdo. But okay.
You think I'm joking? I'm not. Now look, I'm not going to act like I'm super shocked because now several Assassin's Creed games have had female protagonists, but I really think it's the icing on the cake in this whole shit show. But no, that's not woke, apparently. Woke only means contrived forced diversity. You do realize that is a completely subjective and useless definition.
Well, they added a female character in the game to appeal to more women so that they'll want to play the game. I don't really see a problem here.
Right? Since I was asked a bunch of times by tourists to this channel to define a woke, it's very simple. It's whatever ESG or Bridge is pushing, aka a progressive left.
Just to be clear, woke is anything that's like left-leaning nowadays. Woke used to mean something. Now it's just anytime somebody's like uncomfortable with something that's slightly left-leaning. You know, it's become a sham of what it actually means, which is supposed to mean when things go too far left. Basing a character off of a black guy that existed in history and then sensationalizing the story like every single story that's ever been made does. You know, I've saw the Lincoln movies. That's typical shit that we've done before. Adding a female character to appeal to other females, so to get them to play their game. That's typical shit. Like that's not like wokeness. That's a marketing strategy. Like who gives a shit? And also the Black Samurai character is popular, and people want to see it because they say it's like, oh, it's kind of cool. That's really all it boils down to.
This politics. That's what woke is. Woke is not some arbitrary idea of what you're not okay with. Okay. There's this little thing called the Overton window. You have slowly been conditioned to accept more and more. I'm not going to use the term again.
The Overton window is just like what the acceptability is on either side of what you like, you know, what you do and don't talk about, et cetera, et cetera. You can apply it to like anything, but it's like usually applied to politics. Sure. Everything is woke now. Like we say everything is woke now, right? So the word has lost its meaning, okay? This is the guy who didn't know that Vault Tech, he claims to play all the Fallout games, didn't know that Vault Tech in the show Fallout sold vaults. Just to be clear, that is a fact. He did not know. He questioned that. He made an offhanded comment about that. Just to be clear.
That every centrist grifter fucking got triggered by. I'll just say miscegenation. Feel free to Google that.
Okay.
Apparently that doesn't count as woke, even if that's very obviously part of their agenda. There's a reason why it's in every goddamn commercial on TV.
I will say, like, just give me a non-interracial couple. Give me 2 black people, 2 white people. I'll say sometimes it seems weird. Not everybody's interracial. Give me like a normal family.
It's in every TV show. It's in every fucking movie. But no, that's not woke, according to fucking retards.
Whoa! This guy's upset, dude.
Kids.
That's not really woke. It's just like sometimes it gets a little aggressive. Like it's not even aggressive. It's like, oh, just give me like 2 black guys or a black guy and a girl. Or 2 black guys is fine too. I don't really care that much. Right, but I really wouldn't call that woke. That's calling everything woke. That's like if I was like, everything's racist, right? Like you're doing the same thing. You're saying everything is woke is the same as saying everything is racist.
The guy is black and he's white, so he's talking about like, oh, it's race mixing and promoting race mixing.
But that's not even being woke.
So yes, if any of you were expecting...
What was that? Is that a review of your... Okay.
A response video to the numerous replies to my Fallout reviews, or Moist Critical's little tidbit in his podcast. No, it would be completely pointless.
Yeah, because you would get sloshed. You fucked up. Like, it seems like you don't even know. My comments were full of Synthetic Man doesn't even know his own lore of Fallout. Like, he was calling, like, the Brotherhood, like, the good guys usually, but this time they're bad. Like, he's never understood the story beyond anything. I think this guy, like, legitimately might have autism. I'm not even kidding. I think that he struggles to understand and interpret things the correct way. So...
And as entertaining as that video would be, it certainly would get...
It would be very entertaining to me.
This channel in trouble, to say the least.
Why? Because you're going to go off on a tangent about how white people that are Jewish are not white? Like Michael Rappaport, the whitest guy in the world. Which, by the way, again, anti-Semitic dog whistle. Trying to separate Jewish people from white people because they're not... That's just weird shit. Like, there are white Italians, white fucking... There's white everything. Italians, Germans, English people, blah, 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 blah. Jews, like, there are white Jews or white Hispanics. Michael Rappaport's a white Jew, and this guy's like, no, actually, he's... Let me show you Michael Rappaport. Actually, he's not even white. And he doesn't want to say what he actually says because he feels like he'll get banned if he sits here and talk and like basically goes into a spiral. This guy's not white to him. This guy's anti-Semitic. Like he's insane. He's insane. This guy's like probably a conspiracy theorist who thinks that Jews runs the world. Like he's a weird, disconnected, antisocial person. The only reason that like anybody listens to him is because YouTube collects all the weirdest fucking people from around the world and gives them a platform of their own to sit there and like masturbate each other's fucking dicks off. Just to be clear.
And look, I know I'm rambling about something completely unrelated to this Assassin's Creed trailer, but I do want to point out before we move on that there seems to be this narrative that I was the only guy who didn't like the Fallout show.
Yeah, well, yeah, even Critical Drinker liked it. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, dude.
When It's a Gundam's video on it has 250,000 views. So
who cares?
I wonder if Critical will have something to say about that. Somehow I doubt it.
Well, maybe he had better criticisms. I don't know. I didn't watch his video, and I have no interest. Maybe yours were just so crazy, everybody focused on you and decided not to talk about that guy.
Why was my channel specifically targeted? Probably because
he's got a... He's got a victim complex, guys. Why was I specifically targeted? Well, your first Fallout video has almost 400,000 views, so maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. You weren't specifically targeted. It's all the bots, guys, because all the criticism is just bots in his comments.
I'm the only remotely popular chud gamer on the internet at this point. And unfortunately, my review of the other 7 episodes got hit with an age restriction from mass reporting. Yes, there was a couple seconds of exposed titty in the video, but I don't think that's why I got age restricted.
That's probably exactly why you got age restricted, but okay.
Call me a schizo, but even after censoring it in YouTube's editor, my appeal got rejected. So obviously something fishy was going on there. Regardless, my point of this little side tangent is just that
it's just to be clear, he's trying to reference like a conspiracy, like the Matrix. That's probably what he's doing. The Matrix can't. Yeah, that's what this guy's complete conspiracy brain. Like that's really all it comes down to.
Even though the trailer appears to have a massive amount of dislikes, it's almost 50-50 according to the dislike extension, which I do want to point out that the dislike extension is not entirely accurate. It actually usually underreports dislikes, so it's probably even more than this. But
is this like what the whole criticism of this is there actual criticism of the Assassin's Creed thing other than like they used like a historical person that existed and turned it into a character in their game? Like, is that it? Like, oh my god, there's a black person, we're enraged? Because just to be clear, this is something that you guys should probably be aware of, people who like hate the existence of minorities in video games. Synthetic man, is that this is the response that they want. Just to be clear, they want you to cry about it because your crying is so unreasonable and annoying. It signal boosts shit out there. Because what happens is like they make a guy black in the game, and then you bitch about it because a black guy exists, right? You're complaining, blah 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 blah. And there can be reasonable criticisms. You could say like, hey, it's kind of frustrating that like it always feels like there's always a black character in a game or blah blah blah. Whatever. You can have a reasonable, but that's not meaningful enough to make a video. So you have to make it meaningful. Like, oh my god, why did they do this? This isn't even. Or you have to turn up the diarrhea dial to make an actual video game, a video out of it. But they hope for this because this is their online marketing strategy, is to enrage like people that get really upset, and then you're like sitting there crying about it, and it goes all over Twitter, and it gives them like free Twitter virality. It costs them making a black guy, a cool black character that a lot of people think is pretty cool, that other medias have drawn from, into a game, and then you having a fucking meltdown about it, and then dislike bombing it, right? So that's really all it comes down to. If you stopped complaining about this, they would stop doing this. If that's it, like if you guys would stop caring about this, they would stop including this kind of stuff. The rage bait is a huge marketing strategy. Conservatives have been doing it for a while. Ben Shapiro. By the way, I like Ben Shapiro. I don't agree with everything he says, or most things he says, but I actually tend to like him. That's been like the strategy, is to kind of like rage bait on the internet, and like now we're doing this is the liberal rage bait. This is going on and saying women belong in the kitchen, except now they're saying black guys belong in Japan. Also, where's your outrage for Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai? Am I right? That's it. This is it. I don't care. Like, just stop giving a fuck. It's like, even if you think it's a little weird, like, is it really worth this much like caring about it? I
do want to say it's very clear to me, at least with the debate going on around a lot of adaptations or race swapping or interracial couples or replacement characters like Miles Morales, that people don't seem to
Was a replacement? What do you mean replacement character? Isn't that like a legitimate character? Wasn't he like a legitimate thing? Oh, thank you so much for the $2 from Michael Pham. Asmongold theorizes it makes the price tag $120. Oh, that would be outrage. Well, is how much is it? Is that how much it's going to be? How much is new Assassin's Creed? Can you pre-order it right now? I'm looking into it. Oh, no, it's $70. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it's $70 for just the game, the pre-order bonus. Then $109 for a season pass, and then $130 for ultimate pack. And then I guess you could do this and get all that as well. I don't know. Well, here's my thing, because it seems like there's a lot of expenses. Like a season pass. Like, what do you need a season pass for? It seems stupid. But like my thing is it is interesting that video games have barely increased in price. What have they always been like? I'm 34, and video games, what did they used to be? $50, and now I'm You know, that was when I was a kid, and now video games they're only $70 now. Like, inflation wise, I feel like that's kind of crazy. So it makes sense that they would it makes sense that they may want to increase the cost, although I wonder, with all AI and different technologies that exist that help them streamline these games, I imagine that their cost of production isn't necessarily as high. Does that make sense? Relatively? Let's do 1995 to 2024. Let's do $50. The inflation calculator. Yeah, we get $104.31. So, you know, it makes sense that games would go up in price. To be honest with you, but
understand where the line is with woke. Again, for normies who don't really give a flying fuck about the culture war.
You mean regular people? Can we not call them normies? Regular people. When you use normie, you're trying to say that they're weird. Normies, regular people, don't give a shit about this stuff because we have other things to be worried about. You're saying normie, like you're a weird person for overly focusing on this. Like, you think about these things too much.
And don't even understand that they're slowly being conditioned to accept worse and worse things
Like a black guy and a samurai. Like,
I actually can't even say in a video, or this channel will probably get deleted.
Like, what is he? What do you want to say? I really want to know what this guy wants to say. What am I being conditioned to deal with?
Again, I think you guys already know what I'm talking about, and by the time they realize, it will definitely be too late.
If I had to theorize what this guy is talking about, I'm like 80% sure on this. This guy's talking about a great replacement theory. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this guy's talking, because he's very clearly in some kind of conspiracy brain shit. He doesn't even feel comfortable enough to say it. It sounds like he's talking about some kind of a great replacement theory. This hat doesn't work backwards. It sounds like what he's saying is that they're slowly trying to replace white people, right? Like, that's the only thing that I could come to. That what else is there? You know, there's an interracial couple. It sullies the genes of the pure whites. Like, what are you fucking talking about, bro? What is it that? What is your issue? What is your fucking problem? This is what I'm talking about. If he everything is so loaded. The criticism isn't just like, hey, I'm a little frustrated that they added a black samurai into a place where it should have been all Japanese people. Because I don't think anybody, I don't care personally. I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fine if you feel that way. I personally don't care. But, like, that's fine if you have that perspective. It's not worth me talking about or caring about. But he'll say that, and then he goes on an entire tangent about how Jews aren't really white, and, like, alludes to a great replacement theory that white people are being phased out of existence. And it's just like, you're unreasonable. You're unreasonable. You're not a normal person. So, like, now when somebody says something, it's not about just what they say, it's about where that thing comes from. So it's like, where is your frustration with the black character being included coming from? Where's your frustrated with the woman, by your logic, being too masculine looking? Where is that coming from? Is that coming from you not being a big fan of trans people? But then we also know, if she was too feminine, you'd be like, well, a feminine woman wouldn't be able to actually fight in a fight. Like, there's nothing that will satisfy you. You will complain about everything. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Michael Fan, for the $5. Asmon has a nice 2-minute clip on the pricing strategy to funnel gamers to subscribe. Your upload on this will counter the extremism of the synthetic. Well, I don't know if it'll counter the extremism, but maybe I'll take a look. What is that? Where is that on his clip channel?
I really think people have just become too stupid. I mean, honestly, if you just take away the woke element of the Fallout show, that show is just straight up retarded.
Okay. It's not. It was a good show. It had a solid storyline and likable characters.
The plot doesn't make any sense.
What makes no sense about it?
There's a reason why even Mauler didn't like the show, okay?
What doesn't make sense about the plot? You didn't even know Vault Tech sold vaults, just to be clear. So, like, you don't even know what this plot of the show is.
And yet normies ate that shit up.
Normies, regular people.
Which is why you have people like Critical defending it.
Not non-terminally online individuals.
Because all they do is parrot the most popular opinion. And so the Fallout show is not woke, but this Assassin's Creed game is woke. I'm really starting
what? Who said the Assassin's Creed game is woke? Is that what Voice Critical said?
To think that normies unironically think woke means thing with left-wing propaganda that I don't like. If they do,
that is what it is. You don't like anything that's not. Yeah, that's exactly what you're saying.
Like the thing, they will ignore all left-wing propaganda in it. Perfect.
Is this?
Hi there.
I'm about to go on a passionate, joyful rant, so please ensure that your seatbelt is buckled, because I'm about to torpedo my opinions at you like the logs out of Final Destination 1. I am so beyond disgusted and tired of modern greedy video game pricing, and the biggest proponent behind this criminal level of greed is Ubisoft. I've said for the last 3
Okay, so this sounds like he's going to complain about the pricing. He's not going to really complain about Assassin's Creed. I don't really care too much about the conversation about the pricing. Maybe I'll watch it at the end but like maybe that's something to do afterwards. Let's finish this first.
The example, Baldur's Gate 3.
This is what I find so funny though, is that this guy is complaining that all you're doing, all us normies are doing, we are just parroting what everybody else is saying and thinking. We don't critically think, which is obviously wrong. We know that. That's my platform, is like I have different opinions on different things. People will get upset with me sometimes for different opinions. But no, it doesn't matter, okay? What matters is we just say whatever we're told to say. We think whatever we're told to think. So in his response, he just thinks the exact opposite of that. And he doesn't realize that he's a fucking sheep. If you're a sheep for agreeing with everything that's going on, blah, 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 you're a sheep for just saying, no, uno reverse. You're just in the opposite direction. You're still a slave to the same things that are going on, the same public ideas that are going on. You're just saying the opposite. They just have a reverse psychology dynamic with you. That's it. And again, your complaining is just signal boosting these games out there and giving them more free advertising. So you're just in the opposite direction. That's really what it comes down to.
Right? So the word has become effectively meaningless. I feel like for every tiny victory that quote-unquote our team, and I'm using that very loosely, okay?
I mean the whites?
Our team doesn't exactly agree on a lot of shit, as I've learned over the past few years. But even the tiny...
What team is that?
Any victories we have made effectively are meaningless because the brainwashing is way too fucking strong. So no, I don't think this is any kind of victory that the average person hates this Assassin's Creed game, because they have no real principles. They do not...
I'm not understanding. It sounds like who's complaining about the game? Like, it sounds like they're complaining about the pricing.
Stand for anything. Maybe if this released in 5 more years, they wouldn't give a flying fuck that Yasuke's black. Now, if you're wondering why this video isn't really talking about gameplay or...
That's literally would be the focus. Is the game going to be good? Because if the game is bad, if they make a black character and they produce a bad game, to me, what it is communicated to me is that they're deciding to say, like, oh, we're going to add a black character, and then we'll just leave it at that. We'll be lazy and our game will be shit. Like Star Wars, like the newer Star Wars movies. They said, here's some inclusiveness. We're not going to put any effort into the screen, into like the screenwriting and stuff. Yeah, that sounds good, babe.
Thoughts on like the concept of the game? That's because it's just a CG trailer. There's not much to actually talk about. So might as well just...
So you're just complaining that the guy's black.
Let's talk politics. It's unfortunate that my gaming channel, and it has always primarily been a gaming channel, not a politics channel, I unfortunately have to talk about politics in almost every single modern game review.
You don't.
Because
you decide to do that. Because that's your focus. And it's fine. It's fine that, like, you're the guy who, like, this is your political struggle. Is like, you're very passionate about maintaining, like, a strong, healthy white race. I understand. That's fine, but stop pretending. I was like, oh, I'm pretty much forced to. There are plenty of other game reviewers who don't do that. Just to be clear, this is your thing. You're right. And if you didn't do that, nobody would tune in, because it sounds like you don't really have a lot. Not for nothing, but again, like watching the other Fallout, I got so much feedback that you had no idea what you were talking about when it comes to the Fallout storyline. You didn't know that Vault-Tec sold vaults. You had no fucking clue what was going on the entire time. So it doesn't really seem like you have the ability to actually like receive information, interpret it correctly, and then like actually display it to people. So your only shtick is that you say like woke bad, and like you're clinging on to like white people, complaining anytime there's a woman or a black person that exists. That's really your whole shtick. So like you can't not talk about politics, because that's all you do. Is you kind of just like you have a meltdown over anything that's not a white guy with like a mustache or something. I don't know. Every single time, trans people too, you complain about that. That's your whole shtick. You have nothing else. Like that's so yeah.
ESG, bridge, DEI, whatever is being shoved into every major video game. And I know I'm just preaching to the choir, explaining the same things over and over again to explain where ESG funding comes from, whether it's BlackRock or Vanguard. And I'm not even actually allowed to talk about why they're funding these things in games, why they're pushing it. And I already know my fans know exactly why.
Do you want to know why they're pushing DEI in video games, whether you want to hear this or not? Okay, because the DEI enforced inclusivity can be annoying and sometimes can misfire. I'm not going to say that that's not true. Of course it is. But the reality is that we've had a lot of gaming related issues. The Blizzard blew up, what was it, a year or two ago, massively, where they had this Cosby room. There was sexual harassment. I think one woman was led to kill herself because there was revenge porn shown around the office. What's happening is that video games companies tend to be dominated by men. And when you add women into those industries, it gets difficult. In two different ways, right? Way number one is that men can, in a very male-dominated field, can just become very sexist to women. And the second thing is women can be a little sensitive. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I've worked a union job. I worked with men and I worked with women, and women didn't men are gay, right? We would fuck around. We would say gay shit all the time. We would fucking kill a gay chicken, and we would we'd be obnoxious. We'd make inappropriate jokes. Women are more sensitive to that. There's nothing wrong with being more sensitive, but it changes the dynamic. And so you have a historically male-dominated sphere where the bosses are men, and to them it's just playing around, horsing around, and the women get upset and offended, and that's their right to do so. When they added a woman, when I've worked with women before, I changed my tone. I don't make the same jokes. It's just smart business. It shifts the dynamic, and so that's what happens. Is a lot of these women are led to be harassed in some capacity in a way that's extraordinarily inappropriate workplace wise. It wasn't just Blizzard; they were the biggest ones. There were some issues at Riot. I guarantee you that there's more issues around different spheres. An industry, we'll say whoever's going to give out a loan is going to say you have to use this DEI program, or we're not giving you a loan because we don't want the bad business to destroy our company. So again, DEI, this forced inclusion, can be annoying. Absolutely. Or rather, the force DEI bullshit, it can be annoying, but the reason is because of ridiculous bigoted practices that have historically completely scourged the video game atmosphere. So let's not what's the narrative? The narrative is that if I'm an investor, I don't want bad publicity for women getting sexually harassed at the workplace, and so I'm only going to give you $300 million if you agree to work with some third party that has a better understanding, not perfect, but better understanding of how to navigate the landscape to not get massive blowback pressure for some kind of a sexual harassment case. That's what is actually happening when it comes to these situations. Okay. That's it, because these investors aren't sitting there oh, I want to make sure we add a fucking black guy. They don't give a fuck about anything but money. But they do care about not getting blowback. So they hire these third-party companies, and it doesn't mean that third-party companies are great, but that's literally all it is. That's literally all it is. There's no magical conspiracy narrative. It's all in front of our face. Anybody with any level of critical thought could come to the conclusion and understand that. That's it.
So what's the point of saying it for tourists at the risk of banning my channel? There isn't one. And truth be told, am I all that out?
It's so convenient that he can't make any of his points or he'll get banned. I doubt that that's true, but it's just so funny.
Raged about this? Honestly, no. I mean, I
think that part of it is really just trying to dog whistle to people because he's afraid to say something that might also trigger his audience, right? So he's I might get banned. Part of it's that he doesn't want to trigger his own audience that are this is unreasonable. And then he gets to suggest to people what he probably really thinks that are picking up what he's putting down, going oh yeah, we fucking hate minorities. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
I do enjoy getting mad for these videos. It's actually pretty cathartic to yell into a microphone, believe it or not. And I actually saw the leak about this game's concept a year ago, and even as far as Clown World has gone, I was slightly suspicious of it, but let's just say when there was a second leak less than a week ago, I wasn't all that surprised. And Assassin's Creed has been effectively dead to me since, probably Black Flag. So I really have no personal investment in the IP anymore. And look, I truly thought Assassin's Creed...
So is that it? You don't care about the game anymore? The gameplay is not going to be a redeemable factor? You're saying you'll never give it, a shot? Is that it?
Mirage was just okay. It wasn't terrible. Yes, it did have some woke stuff in it, definitely, but gameplay-wise, it was a step in the right direction. But it definitely wasn't enough to get me interested in Assassin's Creed again. I don't think anything could. And this trailer just justifies that thought completely. I mean, truly, if you buy this game, you're helping kill the video game industry. There's not a...
Why? What? Is the game bad? Like, if he went on to a tangent about the pricing, I'd say, oh, okay. Like, maybe that's a big... I'm not, like, really dialed in on games. Like, I play, like, fucking World of Warcraft and shit. Like, and I don't really play video games the same way anymore that I used to. So I don't have my tone on the industry. I'm just being absolutely clear about that. But that's what sounds like a legitimate complaint. Is like, I don't like the pricing. I don't like the pricing strategy. I don't like the pricing model. That's a legitimate complaint. Okay? But this is not. You're triggered over a black guy existing and the woman looking masculine.
Doubt in my mind. There is no reason that this game...
Even though, like, let's be real, I feel like when it comes to, like, any Japanese game, they always try to make, like, especially Final Fantasy, look at every single lead character. They're androgynous, mostly guys, like, at least historically. They're always, like, androgynous dudes. Why do you think that is? So they can relate more to women. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's always been, like, a feminine or, like, kind of, like, an androgynous look in general there. So, like, it's not even inaccurate.
Game should sell well. If it does, it truly tells you how cucked our modern society is. So yeah, okay. I don't have a whole lot else to say about this.
How much pussy does this guy get? Talk about cocks.
It's not like we had gameplay to work with. The only thing I can tell you to do is just keep voting with your wallet. Don't buy this slop no matter what. I mean, I might review it just to make an entertaining video, but sure as hell,
okay,
not a single one of my fans should spend any money on any Ubisoft game. And I mean any Ubisoft game. There's been rumors about Far Cry 7 and how it's going to have the Peaky Blinders guy as the villain. But who cares, man? It's Far Cry.
That sounds cool. I like Cillian Murphy. He's really good.
Again, I don't care how good the trailer looks. Don't buy any Ubisoft game. Let them die. They're on their last legs.
That might be a message that resonates with people on Ubisoft. I've heard a lot of negative criticism. Again, I don't know. But like that's probably the most reasonable criticism, probably.
I might be a doomer, but
that's all it is. Like, Ubisoft is bad. That's what everybody says. Now I'm gonna try to Trojan horse myself in here. Ubisoft is bad, and here's a reason that you don't really care about, right?
I am not completely and utterly cynical to the point of being blinded. It's obvious that us not buying these games is having some effect on the industry.
You want to know what the reality is, though, bro? Okay, I'm gonna be real with you. Back when the Harry Potter game was coming out, everybody was saying that if you bought the game, you were transphobic. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not transphobic. I love trans people. But people complaining about that made me buy the game. Because I was like, you're being fucking annoying. I'm going to buy it. And I didn't like it because I'm not a big fan of RPGs. So I played it for like maybe 3 hours. Okay? I'm going to go buy a fucking Assassin's Creed Black Guy. Just because you're pissing me off. That's what I'm going to do. Okay? I'm going to do it to you too. I'm gonna do it to you too, right? Just so I can play a black guy. I wanna be internet blackface. And you wanna know what? I hope they release a George Floyd skin, because I'd fucking buy it. All right? How's that sound, dude?
I seem to recall
that was probably a little too edgy of a joke. Okay, I'm sorry. That one a little over the line, brothers.
All reading that BlackRock lost like $1 trillion on investments. That's an unimaginable amount of money. So it's obvious that if we just keep doing this, at the very least, they'll have to pull back a little. Now, somebody like me, I'm always going to read into the more
Wasn't there a movie about a white samurai? Yeah, there was The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise in it. Like, yeah.
Subtle propaganda. No matter how much people think I'm reading into shit, I actually understand these things. They do not.
I just get it. What do you understand?
Which is clear from all of the backlash against my Fallout videos.
So this guy is saying negative attention means that he knows. That's the weirdest way to, like, that's the most pathetic way to operate through life, is anytime you get criticism to just be like, I must be doing the right thing. That's an idiot's game, right? When you get criticism, like, you should listen to it. And, like, you don't have to change your perspective, but you should at least look at it. But this guy's like, nope, if I'm getting criticism, the Matrix obviously is against me, because the guy has a victim complex, that the Matrix is out to get him. And we know this because he was complaining that everybody was a fucking bot in his last video about this. So
trust me, I'm not going to suddenly become an optimist if this woke funding suddenly pulls out of the game industry, because we have to remember that a lot of the developers working for these modern AAA companies are also far leftists because of their
far leftist guys. Thank you so much for $2, Rab. Michael, fam. Nah, Rab, like I said, you're the counterforce. Maybe. I don't want to put too much energy into me.
mental illness. They genuinely think they're doing a good thing by spreading their ideology in art. So I think it's going to be a long
Isn't that what everybody's always done, though?
battle in the years to come.
And what ideology? I mean, I just feel like, again, we're putting so much energy into, like, hey, this is literally it. Like, let's just say it's a trans person. They put a trans person in a TV show. You want to know why they generally do that? Because if, like, other trans people, like, oh, that's cool, I feel included. Like, I've seen, like, I don't remember what movie it was I was watching. But I was like, oh, there's no white guys. Right? And I was like, I have nobody that for me to be like, oh, I identify with this character. And then and that's like, oh, I get it. Right? Like, that's what some other people feel. That doesn't mean that, like, a black guy can't identify with a white character, because I'll identify with, like, I watched the first season of Sweet Tooth a while ago, and I like Big Man. He's a black guy, at least in that. I think he's white in the comics, but I don't care. Right? But, like, so I can identify, because he's a big guy. I'm a big guy, too. I'm like 6'4". Boom. Right? So I get it. But, like, that's literally all it is for most people. Sometimes they get annoying as fuck about it, like, in my opinion, Star Wars, forcing a bunch of inclusivity and doing a dog shit with the script, which is just being, in my opinion, bigoted, because, like, you're just being like, oh, we added women and a black guy, so we don't have to really care. Right? It could be a little complicated when it comes down to it, but at the end of the day, like, a lot of people just kind of want to feel included. I think that there probably are a lot of black guys that are like, oh, this is cool as fuck. Black people love Asian shit. Constantly. The women, anime, it's surprising. Every black person likes anime. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Like I say, there's only two types of people in Hot Topic: normal black people and fucking weird looking white people, okay? So they're probably like, oh, this is cool as shit. Like, yeah, dude, like, who cares? They're taking a historical person and they're, like, sensationalizing their story. That's what we did. Everything is like that. Everything is like that.
But I think we are making,
like, in every slave movie you've ever watched with, like, the good white guy, like, that's probably not something that was necessarily historically accurate, right? Most people are like, yeah, whatever,
making a small amount of headway. So just no matter what, don't buy this slop. That's about it. See you next time, guys.
Gotcha. Gonna be sure to pre-order. So what is the complaint here
Hi
from
there.
Voice Critical?
I'm about to go on a passionate, joyful rant, so please ensure that your seatbelt is buckled, because I'm about to torpedo my opinions at you like the logs out of Final Destination 1. I am so beyond disgusted and tired of modern greedy video game pricing, and the biggest proponent behind this criminal level of greed is Ubisoft. I've said for the last 3 or so years,
like I said before, like, I don't know if it's necessarily greedy. Video games used to be like, what, 50 or 60 bucks? So it was like 60 bucks, and they just raised it to like 70 bucks. Like, okay, that kind of makes sense to me. The inflation calculator wise, like, money back in 1990 is not the same. A $60 game back in 1990 is like $100 and something game today, right? So I don't really mind monetization strategies. I just expect to get like a reasonable amount of quality, right? Like, how much were video games in 1990, right? Good question. It's like 50. It's about $50, right? So like $50. Pop that into a calculator. You hit the calculate button. $123, right? That would be how much a game would cost today based on that. It's surprising they haven't increased the prices as is. So like, I'm not really super like, oh, this is fucking crazy. It makes sense. Like, they haven't even adjusted for inflation.
that nothing makes me lose faith in an upcoming game quicker than seeing a Ubisoft original appear in the trailer. If I was a member of their evil syndicate think tank, my number one suggestion to the board of directors would be hide Ubisoft as much as possible from the credits of these games so people don't know that they're behind these productions. Bury it somewhere.
I feel like the bigger issues I've heard, and I could be inaccurate, that Ubisoft just like releases shit unfinished games, and that's a problem. But
people have to go looking to unearth the truth because no one likes Ubisoft. I'd have more optimism about an upcoming game if it said it was a Bernie Madoff masterpiece. Like, I trust anyone more than Ubisoft. I think they produce.
How did people, anyone afford games in the 1990s if they were costed $123 a day? I don't know, because they're all fucking nerds and probably had like good tech jobs. I mean, the counter argument to the cost being this high nowadays is that more people play video games. So, like, the more you can sell of a product, the less you have to charge for the product, generally speaking, because you have a higher turnover rate. Games are also digital now, too. So that takes out, like, the need for a lot of the games for the production of, I think it might cost like, let's say it costs like $10 of the game just to get the physical cartridge and whatnot. So there are counters to it. You're doing a purely digital game, but then again, then they might have to have like a digital infrastructure that they use. Like, if you put it on Steam or something, you have to probably support other people being able to download. It's complicated, but like, sure. I overall, I get charging a little more money.
Exclusively Steam over the last like 5, 6, maybe even 7 years, aside from of course Rainbow Six Siege, which I think is just an accidental hit for them. And it's an older game, it's a 9-year-old game. I think the reason that it continues to do well is because Ubisoft forgets that they're involved with it, so they let it do its own thing. But anything Ubisoft gets its grubby little mitts in just is a disaster. Anyone remember the Avatar Legends of Pandora that came out less than a year ago? Didn't think so. And in fact, I bet you didn't even register that I got the name wrong. I double checked. It came out 6 months ago, and it's actually called Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. But I imagine some of you watching this did play it and totally forgot about its existence, just like Men in Black neuralized out of your mind, but because it was so boring that your brain did its best to defend you from the tedium. It is just a fucking snooze fest that I guarantee you sleptwalk through, just like mindlessly wandering around in this huge state of this.
I think it was like a really massive open world game that was like, there wasn't a whole lot. I think it was trying to be like No Man's Sky, but somehow shittier on its release. Although apparently No Man's Sky, I think that's the name of the game, has been continuously pushing out like content. They've been actually putting in meaningful effort to fix the game. Yeah, they charged $130. I get it. It's very expensive.
Ubisoft open world formula that they run into the ground. It's just fucking pitiful productions that they've been behind for the last 5 or 7 years. But before I get too deep into this Ubisoft hate wagon that I'm just vomiting out here, I do want to passionately be excited about something. The Gamer Stuff's waifu cup with me on it, baby. The most beautiful cup you've ever seen in your life. Look at this goblet. That's me.
That a short stack goblin?
Yeah,
I got a friend who'd love it.
Right now, gamerstuff.gg. I'll put a link to it in the description. Go ahead and pick that up right now. But the point is, Ubisoft, I don't think has made good games in a while, and I include Assassin's Creed in this. I haven't enjoyed Assassin's Creed in so long. The last good one, and this isn't a controversial opinion, was Black Flag, and I didn't enjoy Black Flag as much as everyone else, but I can recognize that it was probably the last good Assassin's Creed game. And I play all of them. I tried them all, except they only lasted like 4 hours in Mirage because it was such a fucking snooze fest. And Valhalla, I think, is the only time I've ever fallen asleep on stream. Like, they're just boring games. And this is all a long-winded precursor to what I want to talk about today, which is the newest Assassin's Creed game, Shadows, which of course Ubisoft is behind. Now, there's a lot of controversy around this, a ton of drama because of the main character here, or one of the main characters. I don't give a fuck about it. I'm just gonna tell you right now up top, I'm gonna rip the band-aid off. I don't care. I legitimately could not care less about the historical accuracy of the Assassin's Creed franchise. That means about as much to me as the tiny hairs around my asshole. It is truly worthless to me. I wouldn't care if you played as Dobby the house elf in the new.
Those are important, by the way. My wife shaved her asshole hair one time and she farted, and you could hear it more. It's just like, it's very loud. So those ass hair kind of add. They're like wind resistance, if that makes sense, like a windsock.
Feudal Japan Assassin's Creed game doesn't matter as long as it's a good game, which I don't think that will be because I have no faith in Ubisoft and even less faith in Assassin's Creed. But what I do care about greatly is the pricing that Ubisoft is spearheading here. They just did this for Star Wars Outlaws with like $100 plus versions, and now they're doing it again for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm so fucking tired of it. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. These are your pricing options for the different editions of Assassin's Creed.
So I don't find this to be a particular issue. I'm just gonna be real with you. For one, it makes sense to do this type of renting strategy so that you have to continuously rent forever, but you also get unlock a ton of games, right? 100 plus PC games here, including the new releases, blah blah blah. I think this is probably a pretty smart tactic to like include everything with an $18 a month. If you consistently play, I don't know what their catalog is, but if you're consistently playing this is probably a great thing. You could even get this for, I don't know, a month, play the game through, and then you're done with it, and then you could stop. This is kind of a pretty decent idea. I'm not against the per month payment model. I think it's kind of smart. Okay, I don't know what you get in a season pass, right? That might be an issue, but I imagine like I don't know what do you get. What do you get with an Assassin's Creed season pass? You get Assassin's Creed season pass. What does that give you? Like, I understand the season passes do feel like they're continuously trying to 2 story arcs, each with 3 downloadable episodes. See, that is an issue I have more than anything else, is that like it sounds like you're not releasing the full game. You're releasing a partial game, and then you're saying we have more. I feel like there's a difference between releasing the full game and then coming up with DLC versus doing this. But like, whatever. But either way, $110. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't know if I necessarily have a problem with that because of inflation,
Shadows. So, for the standard edition, it's $70, but you have to pre-order it if you want.
Like, if they were really good games, I don't think anybody would complain, or people would complain less.
Access to a pre-order exclusive mission. The mission's called Thrown to the Dogs, and the only way you get access to this, it seems, is if you pre-order the game, which they haven't even shown any motherfucking gameplay for yet. I think that is the biggest load of barnacles ever. You're just pre-ordering based off of a cinematic trailer alone. It's a terrible, shameful thing to ask of the consumer, but that's Ubisoft in a nutshell. They're completely shameless. Moving on to the gold edition, you get the pre-order bonus plus a season pass and 3-day early access. Season pass in a single-player game is probably one of the most embarrassing things ever that's become commonplace.
Yeah, I would say that like 3-day early access is like a perception of value thing for people who don't want to wait, But it works for me sometimes.
If I was the goober at Ubisoft that came up with the idea of single-player season passes, I would never share that information with anybody ever. You wouldn't be able to torture that out of me at Guantanamo Bay. Batman couldn't beat that shit out of me. That is so fucking embarrassing. And in this case, it's especially egregious because the season pass for the gold edition includes a mission, so it's just paywalling even more content of the game behind the season pass and the higher price tag. And let's talk about that 3-day early access real quick, because I've seen a lot of discussion around it, and they're making great points about it. For 110 clams, you're not paying to play the game 3 days early. You're paying to play it on time. If you pay $70, you're playing the game 3 days late. So it's not early access. For 110 bones, you play the game when it comes out, and unless you fork over the additional 40, you play the game 3 days late.
I guess it's one way to... I mean, that's all a perception thing.
That's how it works. That is extraordinarily anti-consumer. Like, increasing the amount of money just to play the game when it fucking releases is absurd. And then
Yeah, just wait the 3 days. You're not missing anything waiting the 3 days. Most people, like, will probably decimate this game in, like, a day, and it's like, oh... You're not really missing anything, so...
we move on to the Ultimate Edition. For $130, you get pay-to-win elements in a single-player game. 5 skill points and then, like, a bunch of cosmetics. I'm gonna
That's silly. The cosmetics I don't care about, but the skill points is weird.
get a little mean here with some tough love. If you have to pay an additional $60 just for a
But I imagine that the game it has an easy mode, so again, I don't care.
little bonus pay-to-win in your single-player game, I think you need to take a hard look in the mirror and just recognize that maybe gaming's just not for you. Like, if that's the
I mean, here's my thing. I would care about that if there wasn't an easier difficulty, or if the game was insanely hard to the point where you're like, I have to get this version of the game or else I'm fucked. But outside of that, I don't really give a shit, you know?
only way you'll enjoy the game is being able to, like, pay to win through a single-player game. I think maybe, you know, take up a different kind of hobby. I feel like such a fucking Redditor gatekeeping gaming, but that is so unbelievably silly to pay an additional $60 for 5 skill points and then a couple of cosmetics. Like, I'm sure the cosmetics will look cool, but they're not worth almost paying the exact same price as the game itself just to get some cosmetics for it.
Yeah, I mean, your best argument's on the skill points. Like, the cosmetics, I literally don't care about. If you want to pay more money for cosmetics, like, do your thing.
That is a crazy thing to ask of people. Then, of course, there's the final option here, which is getting the Ultimate Edition through Ubisoft Plus, which is their own cringe subscription service for $18 a month, because every single fucking thing on the planet has a subscription service now behind it. I bet there's going to be a subscription service for Mr. Bean, like Mr. Bean Extra On-Demand Turbo Arcade, even though there's only 15 episodes of Mr. Bean that have ever aired, and they're all freely accessible on YouTube right now. But I bet they'll probably come out with some kind of Mr. Bean subscription in the next few years. That's just the #1 trend that every tech company follows now, and Ubisoft is, of course, no stranger to that. So they have Ubisoft Plus, which hopefully they have less than double digits of users signed up to that, because I don't know why who in their right mind would sign up for Ubisoft Plus.
I mean, like, I don't see a problem with it, with the Ubisoft Plus. That's probably your best value if you actually play the games. And again, you could just get it for 1 month, play the game, let it go. They'll probably release the next version out the next month to get you in for 2 months. But even if you play it for 2 months, that's like $36. Like, I don't know how bad this game catalog is. You get that fucking crazy Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game that's still $130, or you can get it for the season pass. So maybe that'll be worth it. Prince of Persia, Settlers, Rayman. Rayman games are pretty good, I hear. A bunch of Assassin's Creed games, Monopoly, Madness. What the fuck? Right, so this might be a decent value for some people that might want to play some of the old games if you want to, like, binge watch them, but you don't want to own them. Because I don't really care about the ownership of games anymore. Like, I have shit sitting around my house. I don't feel the need to purchase everything. So yeah, it seems decent.
Plus, but anyway, that's
It's Ubisoft games only, that's a problem. Yeah, but you know that. You're aware of that. You make an informed decision as a consumer, like, when it comes to that. You don't have to get it always. You can just get it for like a month, and then you can let it go when you're done playing them, and you can come back whenever you want. I don't think it's a big deal.
the other option of getting the Ultimate Edition. I hate the direction Ubisoft is trying to push AAA gaming. I hate this pricing scheme. I think it's terrible.
I don't have a problem with the pricing scheme. The only issue I have a problem with is if they release shit games. That's it. The pricing, I don't really care about.
It was bad when they did it with Star Wars Outlaws. It's bad that they're doing it with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm really hoping that it flops extraordinarily hard, so that way more AAA companies don't try and emulate it. Because I have no doubt there's a lot of companies paying close attention to what Ubisoft's doing here, and if it's successful, they'll probably employ similar tactics, and that would just be bad for everybody. So I wanted to vent about this a little bit. I think it super sucks. I hate where Ubisoft is trying to take the industry. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just rant about this a little bit and get it all out of my system. I'm still going to try Assassin's Creed Shadows because I still give every single game that comes out a try for the most part to see if maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised and proven wrong. So far, the safest bet I'll ever be able to make is that the newest Assassin's Creed game is going to be boring. That's been proven true time and time again for me personally, but maybe Shadows is the one to break that streak. And if it does, great, but it's still not going to change the way I feel about how Ubisoft is monetizing it. I think it's horrible for the industry overall. Even if the game comes out and it's great, I still can't stand what Ubisoft has done with their monetization of these games. I think
I don't care. If people are willing to buy it, they're willing to buy it. I personally, it doesn't seem like a huge issue to me. Whatever. So, all right, cool.